One of the pivotal moments in the fight against terrorism after 9/11 was the death of al-Qaeda's leader, Osama bin Laden.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
When former President Obama spoke those words, there was a collective sigh of relief across the country. Navy SEALs from SEAL Team 6 raided Osama bin Laden's compound in Pakistan in May of 2011. It was an operation that took years of planning and training. And Rob O'Neill was a member of that team and is credited with killing Osama bin Laden. Rob, thank you so much for joining us right now. You know, it's been very interesting for me as I've been reflecting on the past 20 years, and I feel like I am more emotional this year than years prior, thinking about the September 11th attacks. And I think it has to do with the fact that I'm not just thinking about the 3,000 people that were killed in 2001, but all of the lives lost and lives changed permanently in the 20 years afterwards. I'm wondering, you know, from your perspective, how are you remembering the fallen this weekend? What are the feelings that are sort of bubbling to the surface for you?
Good morning, Anne-Marie. Thank you for having me. 20 years, yeah, it seems to have flown by. And, you know, just a horrific event on 9/11, 2001. But I do like to see everyone coming together and sort of realizing, if only for a few moments, what's really important in life. I'm gonna remember it by going down to the Naval Academy, talking to some of the cadets and some of the people from the Air Force Academy, and you know, just have a you know, moments of silence and remembrance. You know, it's nothing to be celebrated, but we need to remember. One of the problems I think with a lot of people now, especially in the 24-hour news cycle and social media, is we say never forget, but we keep forgetting to never forget. And I think of the people in the North Tower and the South Tower that all they did was drop their kids off at school on a Tuesday morning, and then all of a sudden, you know, 35 minutes later, the best option is to jump out of a skyscraper because whatever's going on inside, we'll never know. And I think about the brave men and women on Flight 93 who were the first Americans to actually fight al-Qaeda face to face, and they did that after they voted. And there's something symbolic about that because that's what our democracy is about. That's what our way of life is about. Is everyone has a voice, everyone has a vote, and they voted to fight. And, you know, if nothing else, give them a moment of silence and think of them. Think of the people that went to work at the Pentagon and then were hit by a plane. And then all of the victims that died, the first responders that went in and died from cancer. I mean, there are people still dying from the effects of 9/11. And it's so important between all of our squabbling to realize we are actually all in this together. And a lot of stuff that we argue about all the time is not important. What's important is telling people more often that you love them.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a great point. I thought it was really interesting that you're going to talk to young people. Many of them may not have been born when the attacks occurred or very, very young when the attacks occurred. And so this is all something that they've kind of read about in the history books or watched a documentary about. And they have an understanding, I'm sure, but no real way to absorb how much their life has actually been impacted by it, those attacks, how much life has changed in America and around the world since those attacks. But you were there for a very pivotal moment in our fight against terrorism. No one, I think, would have thought that it would have taken a decade to track down Osama bin Laden. But you, with the other members of SEAL Team 6, you were in the room when U.S. forces finally discovered him. I know you talk about this all the time, but can you just take me back there? What it was like to stand in the room after years of training, after a decade of hunting this man, and to know that you were standing face to face with him, looking him in the eye?
Well, it just goes to show you, you mentioned 10 years from 9/11, there were people trying to find bin Laden even before 9/11, and it tells you how dedicated they are. And this was a small team of mostly women at the CIA that found bin Laden, and then it tells you about the pilots that flew us in that don't get nearly enough credit, the air crew who put their butts in the seats and risked their lives to get shot down that were on those helicopters. And then the men in front of me who were using everything from mechanical breaching to charges to get us up to the third floor. And when it came down to it, there were two of us that went up the last set of stairs. The brave man in front of me simply went one way because he thought he was tackling suicide bombers to give the guy behind him. He didn't know it was me. He just knew it was one of his guys. If he could absorb that blast, one of the bravest things I've ever seen, for the guy behind him to get a shot, then I just turned the corner because, he was brave. I was thinking, let's just get this over with. And when I turned the corner, I saw Osama bin Laden standing there. He had his hands on his wife Amal's shoulders. I didn't expect him to be as close as he was to me, and I don't know what he was doing. But as I saw him, it was, he's taller than I thought. He's skinnier than I thought. His beard is more gray than I imagined. But that's him. That's his nose. He's a threat. He's going to blow up. I need to treat him like a suicide bomber, and that's why I had to shoot him in the face. And people have said, there's critics everywhere. You can get credit for giving away free money. Critics for giving away free money. But with him, I've dealt with suicide bombers before, and it's very fast, scary, and permanent. And you need to treat them like that. And that's what happened. And it was simply because a team of people brave went one way. And I always said when I worked at SEAL Team 6, I was just lucky because every day I got to go to work with people who were better than me. And being picked for that team was the greatest honor of my life.
Well, the work that you guys did is incredible. That's just sort of one thing. But I know that you've talked about going in there with your team members with the understanding that you wouldn't get out, understanding that, you could die on this mission and that was fine. And that is just so admirable to me. When we all remember where we were when the president walked out and made that announcement. I know you remember where you were because if I recall you telling the story before, you could see Osama bin Laden and the president is saying, we got him, and you're like, yeah, we did. And there was this idea that this was a pivotal moment. And then it was, it's been another 10 years. We're only just leaving Afghanistan now, along with allied forces. Where do you place the killing of Osama bin Laden within sort of the bigger narrative of our fight against terrorism?
It's going to go down in history. And like I said, it was an honor to be there. And I do like that they said that we did it because we have proven as a coalition that doesn't matter how bad you think you are and where you are, we have men and women who will find you and will come bring you to justice. And when President Obama said tonight I can report to the American people and to the world the United States conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, I heard the president say that. Osama bin Laden was laying on the ground being inspected next to me. I was thinking, how in the world did I get here from Butte, Montana? But what President Obama did as a true leader, what he did as soon as we gave him confirmation, he called President Bush to let him know that we killed Obama because they attacked on his watch. And President Obama just showed that sometimes there's not a place for partisan politics. This is the right thing to do. Because if you think about it, if we would have failed on that mission, he's not getting reelected. But that was not even in his mind. President Obama knew this is what we need to do. He had a Secretary Gates who's a Republican. We proved that we can work together. And I hope something like an anniversary of 9/11 lets both the right and the left side show that when it's all said and done, we're all Americans and we should be all on the same team. And as I travel the country so much, I do realize most Americans are really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if only we could hang on to that feeling in the days after the September 11th attacks, when everyone was unified, not just in this country, but around the world.
Yes.
So let's fast forward, right? So finally, the troops have withdrawn from Afghanistan. Hot on their heels is the Taliban, who very rapidly retook Afghanistan and is now forming some sort of a government. In fact, they've announced some of the members of their government, and they include at least one individual on the FBI's most wanted list. So I want to get your feeling, as you're watching the Taliban regain control of Afghanistan, after you know how much has been lost and risked to provide some stability to that country, just what were you feeling? How do you feel about the withdrawal?
Well, it hurt at first. I was angry at first and then sad because so many of us gave up so much to, I was fortunate never to get shot or blown up, but so many people lost their lives. They lost limbs. And, we all missed a lot of our children's lives. I thought we should have been out of Afghanistan a while ago, but we needed to keep Bagram Airfield because it's simply a foothold for not just the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and ISIS, but also we're close to Russia, we're close to China and Iran. I don't like the way it happened. It's a result of bad advice, because what a lot of people do, especially in the military and in politics, is they never want to tell their boss the truth because they want them to be happy. The advice that the Afghans could hold off the Taliban was something that we, the warfighters on the ground, knew would never happen, and it went down horribly. We did need to get out of there. I disagree with a lot of the leadership that was made, a lot of the leadership decisions that were made. But then, like you mentioned, Sirajuddin Haqqani, I believe I pronounced it right. He's the interim minister, but he's on the FBI's most wanted list with a $10 million bounty on his head. I hope we can work it out diplomatically. I doubt we can. I think these are really bad people. The Taliban only want to stay in Afghanistan, but unfortunately, Al-Qaeda and ISIS want to get us here. And I'm just worried that some jihadis around the world will start to get a boost out of this, because they beat America, and they beat the Russians in the 90s. They beat the Brits, so they really think they can do this. I'm just worried about more lone wolf attacks, because they want to be martyrs, and it's a sad truth.
I'm curious about this, because you've just brought up about something about getting out of this diplomatically. So, the U.S. and other allies it's in a weird position now with the Taliban wanting to get international recognition. Politico reports that the White House has approved the administration working with volunteer organizations in order to help get Afghanis out who have helped the U.S. And who fear for their safety. I'm wondering sort of what your take on this is. Obviously, Taliban cooperation is essential right now. But, as you point out, we're not talking about people that you would call good guys. So how would you like to see the U.S. navigate this relationship, for lack of a better term?
Hopefully the Taliban has learned that they don't want to harm Americans, especially on television, because we won't have a choice but to respond. And I personally had Taliban members tell me that if they knew we would have attacked the way we did, they would have given us Al-Qaeda. And I really think they just want to keep Afghanistan. If we're working with the Department of State and some civilian agencies to get Americans out, that's great. And I think we will get them out, because this has the potential to be a very, very bad hostage situation, even worse than Iran. But I feel bad for the Afghans that are staying there, because the Taliban is only letting us see what they want us to see now. And anyone that worked with us, they're going to die in really, really bad ways after watching their families get tortured. And a lot of that is because we left about 7,000 machines behind, where it has the fingerprints and retinal scans of everyone from interpreters, yes, but also judges, lawyers, secretaries, drivers. And when the Taliban finds them, I've been in Afghanistan a lot, and some of the most welcoming, generous people I've ever met are Afghans. I can't imagine what they're going through, knowing there's no way out, because the Taliban not only has the airports, but they're guarding the passes, and they're not letting people through. And even if the people they're letting through, they're whipping them on the way to the plane. It's a horrible place. I feel for the Afghans. And, I've found out in combat zones, most people are just trying to get on with their lives. And there are people there. We mentioned the 20-year anniversary. Think of the girls who did nothing but go to school, then went to college, and now they're 20, 21 years old. Now they have to go back under the burqa and back in the corner. Don't go outside without a male escort. They took 100 years steps back.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I know you got to go, so I'm going to ask you really quickly. You tweeted the other day, "Our great nation needs real leaders. I might get back in the fight." What does that mean, sir? Are you considering running for office?
I don't know. I'm close to Washington, a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. And sometimes, I let emotions get the better of me. And, I don't consider Twitter an official platform. If I'm definitely exploring. And if it's worth it, if I can help people, which is all I want to do, I would consider it. But I'm kind of angry with a lot of people making decisions right now.
Well, Rob O'Neill, thank you for your time, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Anytime. I appreciate you having me.